Well, this is John Black, Super Chemist. I'm going to talk about, are trans people actually trans? The answer is no. No, they are not. Okay? Trans people are like 0.002% of the population. Like, one out of like 100,000 people or something, are going to be trans. Thinking that, there are schools now, like in New Jersey. I looked up the one school, 778 kids, only 15 of them are straight and hetero and just regular, normal. The rest of them are all trans, non-binary. All of them. You think that's teaching tolerance? No, tolerance would be that they all accepted trans and whatever people. But when you have 778 children and there's only 15 that are normal, regular, average, by definition, average means most are that way. And yet, all of the kids out of 778 are all trans. All non-binary or whatever in some way. Gay, bi. All of them, huh? That's not brainwashing. No one is like, hey, man. Wow. Yeah, most of these so-called trans people out here, they're autistic. There are people that have very, very, very low social skills. Gay. Fetish. Pedophiles. Femme guys. Tomboys. And yeah, some are actual transsexuals. A very tiny, 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 tiny percent. The rest of them are just crazy nut jobs, okay? Or sex perverts, okay? I have nothing against being a sex pervert, Be a sex pervert all you want, as long as you don't include children. Great. I'm not against fetish per se. I'm more fetish than any person probably on this planet, right? I'm into everything. I don't care. That doesn't mean I go tell my kids about it. Doesn't mean that I go to society and try to normalize it. Because people don't understand. Societies depend on families. This idea that we don't need to have families anymore and we can just do whatever we want, no rules, just whatever feels good for you, and you're always trying to find yourself so you never have to commit to anyone or have any kind of accountability or have any kind of responsibilities. Well, guess what happens when you have a bunch of... That's called selfishness. When you have a society that's based on complete selfishness, that they only care about themselves and they don't care about society, guess what happens to the society? The society goes to crap if you don't care about it. And this lie about how we're teaching tolerance when we're not teaching tolerance. We're normalizing fetishes so that pedophiles can go into our schools and pedophile our kids. Because pedophilia is like a disease. It's not like rape. I can go rape a woman, she doesn't become a rapist. A pedophile's a kid, guess what? That kid has especially if it's a man, has a lot bigger percentage of chance of becoming a pedophile when they, And pedophiles don't just, when they do pedophile someone, they don't stop. It's like potato chips. You can't stop at one chip. They can't stop at one kid. I mean, yes, there are a lot of pedophiles go through life, never do anything to kids. But once they do, they're not going to just stop with one kid. They're just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Okay? And to prove this, I had two videos called Drag Queen Story Hour in public schools. Okay? I hope this guy, he's really a kid. I mean, I don't mean to put him, he's a grown man. Looks like he's 20, 30 years old, somewhere between 20 and 30, you know what I mean? So he's a grown man. I'm just saying, I'm an old man, okay? I got kids older than 30, man. So, as a matter of fact, all my kids are older than 30, man. So, yeah. So he's a kid to me. I wish he would, I'm not saying he's a kid disrespectfully. I'm just saying I'm old, basically. Disrespecting myself. But I hope this kid talks to me because it's crazy. It's crazy. So I did this drag story hour, two-parters, right? He says on the one, and basically that video about drag queens is saying the definition of a drag queen is a stripper. Okay? It's a gay man who dresses like a woman, goes into gay bars, gets on a stage, and dances seductively, sometimes strips down to nothing. A lot of times they just strip down to, because, if they can't strip down to everything because they ain't got no tits and ain't got, what I mean? And so they strip down to lower and lower clothes, and as they're doing that, they get dollar bills thrown at them. In this video, I showed children, little children, I'm talking like 5, 8 years old children, that are at bars, not schools. I showed them at schools too. Showed them at schools, showed them at bars, showed them at other places where these little kids, 8 years old, give or take, you know what I mean? Little boys dressed as girls. Oh well, so what? Who cares? I'm not complaining about that part. What I'm complaining about is that they're dancing in seductive clothes. They're all covered up at first, then they reveal themselves, you know what I mean, down to lower clothing, and then they go around the bar, and the grown adults all have dollar bills, here, and the little kid goes around and collects all the dollar bills. Okay, so this is what this dude, okay, this grown man, 20 to 30 years old, has seen in the videos. They saw drag queens in front of little children twerking, right, and explaining how the 5-year-olds should. I heard babies. This wasn't even at school; it was in the library. I heard babies in the background. There's little children, 5, 8 years old. I could hear them talking. I could see some of them. She's there twerking. This is how you twerk, boys and girls. In case you don't know what twerking is. Then you got another video on there where you got 2 drag queens talking to little children saying, it's night, I hope you are having a good night. And then she goes, oh, wait a second, I forgot. I'm so used to being in bars, I thought it was nighttime. It's actually 10 in the morning, not 10 at night. That's how often these drag, because that's their job. That's what a drag queen does. They go to bars and strip for money. So this is what this gentleman seen. That's why I wish I could talk to him. Like, I wish I could talk to these people to make me understand your thinking. So his thing is, he pulls out one cartoon, which was about Gonzo from Sesame Street. It's called Priscilla something. And it's about Gonzo. He puts a dress on, and the rest of the Sesame Street people were there saying, oh, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, I just feel like a girl. And, think about it. This is Sesame Street. By the time you're like 8, you are not watching Sesame Street. Okay, Sesame Street is for like 5, 4, 3 years old. Maybe 6. I don't see many 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds watching Sesame Street, okay? So this is for literally preschool children watching. A preschooler barely knows how to talk. Okay, my kids, I couldn't understand any of them until they were about 3.5 years old. They'd be 1, 2 years old talking to my wife, like long conversations. I'm like, what the hell did that kid say? I can't understand one word he says. Couldn't even talk to him. He was almost 4, 3.5, all of them. I'd have to literally, they'd go to the refrigerator, they want something out of there, blah, blah, blah. They tell me I'm like, point, but they're tiny, they can't point, I'd have to say, every time, what is this kid saying? I'd be to my wife, I don't understand what this kid's saying. He wants the juice box. Oh, okay. But this kid that don't even know how to freaking goddamn speak English, he can only talk to certain people because his English is so terrible. He don't know shapes and colors barely. Don't even know his ABCs barely. But you're going to talk to him about gender dysphoria. a thing that I could see if it was like 25% of kids had suffered with gender dysphoria. We're talking about like 1 out of 100,000 kids are going to have gender dysphoria. So to help that 1 out of 100,000, first of all, even if you are trans, when you're 4 years old, you do not know if you're trans or not. That's retarded. Okay? You might have traits or whatever, pointing to that you're trans, but that don't mean you're trans. You don't know. Kid don't know. You don't know. No one knows. Because when you're 4 years old, you don't have gender. You don't think of yourself as a boy or a girl. You just think you want to play. So anyways, getting back to this kid. Now he's this guy, this grown man, 20 to 30 years old. He sees all this stuff that I just mentioned, right? And what does he say to me? He says, well, I watched Priscilla, whatever, on Sesame Street, and my mom made me watch it because her, and it made me tolerant. Here, let me just freaking read it. If this was a private message, I wouldn't whatever. No. Wait, let me see. But you. Come on. Why is my fucking computer so goddamn slow? But anyways, he's heard all these things on the video that I just mentioned. How they're strippers, basically, by definition. They're teaching twerking. These kids are literally stripping in bars now because of this drag story hour, convincing little children to become drag queens. This is what he says. Like, dude, even my single mom house got suckened into liking the show with Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which made him more tolerant and open to others. She had a friend who was a cross-dresser, and Jesus Christ. She was a cross-dresser, and I could only imagine the horrors that he would be subjected to in the 2000s or 2010s. Okay, I'm running out of time here. Wait, 13. I got 2 more minutes. Okay, I must have did something wrong with my... Oh, okay. All right, I have a little bit more time. So anyways, my question is, okay, like, first of all, he can't imagine the horrors that the cross-dressers were such, that he would have to be subjected to if born in the 2000 or 2010s. Like, what are you talking about, first of all? Let's talk about this BS about how the horror of it all. First of all, what are you talking about? These people act like the trans people were hunted down and lynched in the middle of the town square. What are you talking about? Yes, trans people got made fun of if they went out, and they blatantly looked like a man, 6 foot tall, hairy as heck, in a dress. Yeah, people make fun of them. Is that right? No, it isn't. That doesn't mean you. See, they're not teaching you tolerance. They're teaching you to normalize fetish. Is what they're doing. But they're doing it in the name of, just like open borders. Obviously, all the black cities are magnets because they're sanctuary cities. So if you open the borders to just everybody, they're going to all flock to the black cities. That means if you make the population go up, the houses are the same. Obviously, the housing rent is going to go up, right? Hurting the black people. Wages would going to go down, right? But we all act like, oh, you're racist if you don't want open borders. No, you're racist if you want open borders. That's what it is. They're just lying.